Josh, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. This ought to be a lot of fun. Talk a little
I,
sports, talk a little life.
let's do. I listen that's all this podcast is: sports and life.
I love it.
So I'm excited. I do have to start here though. You posted on Facebook June 3rd, 2010, a picture of the Lakers logo, and it says "Boston sucks." So I need you to tell me two things. First of all, are you a huge Lakers fan? And if you are, we might get into a little bit of trouble. And second of all, how happy were you when the Celtics lost this year to the Knicks?
My dad graduated high school with Robert Parrish, the Chief, right? So he was always this huge Celtics fan growing up, and he would just rib me at the house and talk about the Celtics all the time because him and Robert were buddies and grew up together in Shreveport, Louisiana. And so I started liking Magic and Kareem back in the day and was a Laker fan when I was a little kid. So everything I wanted for Christmas was Laker gear. And I played point guard as well and other sports, of course. But basketball was a sport I really, really loved when growing up. My dad would always talk a lot of trash on how good the Celtics and Bird and that group was. Of course they were. And then in the 80s, the Lakers won 5 out of the 5 championships in the decade, I think, compared to 3 for the Celtics. So I had the upper hand on my dad. But no, I love sports. Shaq, of course, is an LSU guy. I played at LSU. Shaq's a buddy. Been around him a lot. I was actually at his graduation ceremony at LSU with him, which was fun. And then, when I was with the Browns, I got to know LeBron actually, and so I've kind of always just kind of stayed being a Laker guy and lived in Southern California for many years. My brother, of course, played football at USC, so the Lakers were a big part of our lives in Southern California. I'm a huge Pat Riley guy. I've got like a poster of him downstairs in my TV room, so it's pretty cool. I'm a Pat Riley guy. I'm a Magic guy. I'm a Kareem guy. But yeah, I'm not a huge Celtic fan, but I was a huge Patriot fan and a huge Red Sox fan because of some of my dear friends. Of course, were able to reverse the curse of the Bambino, that 2004 World Series team.
I got a couple of Heat fans in my life, speaking of Pat Riley, and they're getting a little frustrated with the state of the Heat. Granted, they made the finals 2 years ago, so they're a little spoiled. But I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna let you badmouth Pat Riley. The guy's a legend. I mean, he's won so much at every. He's won everything that you've ever wanted to win. From a basketball perspective, and he's been on so many great teams, coached so many great teams. Especially what he's done with the Heat ever since he's been, essentially president there. I mean, the guy just knows how to win.
He does. He's one of the, of course, one of the legendary guys. If there's a Mount Rushmore of coaches and I guess front office guys, he would be in the very center. Phil Jackson guys that I guess I grew up watching. I didn't see the Red Auerbachs or the Waltons, the old UCLA teams and stuff like that. But um, I think that what Pat Riley's done was incredible in the '80s, and that's when I was growing up. So he was a big part of my life, and he always looked sharp. He always looked smooth. He always was on top of his game. He just looked right, man, and I liked him a lot. I've actually met him one time. It was at a Heat game. At it's like I think the Hyde Club underneath the Miami Heat Stadium. I met him. He came through there one night after a game, and I was there, and I got to shake his hand. So that was a pretty cool moment because I mean those are guys that I guess I really paid attention to when I was a kid, and he wasn't a peer. He was someone I always looked up to. So it was fun to meet those guys that are the old timers.
Do you ever feel? I'm assuming Pat Riley's not the only person that you've met that meets this criteria, but some of your idols, like, do you ever feel like? Does it ever feel like a larger than life moment when you get to actually meet them in person? It's like, oh, this person that I see on, I've been watching on TV. I'm the same way with athletes. Like even like going to a game, like I'm a huge 49ers fan. So like even going to like a Niners game and like seeing, Brock Purdy in real, like I'm like, oh, he's actually real. He's not just like this Madden character that like, like
Yep.
you see on TV. But like I imagine like actually meeting them, like that has to feel like a larger than life moment.
There's certain guys that I can remember now that you kind of point out that it brings back memories that really stand out. You know, not too often because I was a sports guy, like competing against these guys, but I met, when I met Pete Rose, unbelievable. Of course, from growing up, I idolized him and Nolan Ryan, and they were guys that were, way ahead of my time in terms of their careers. And so when I was a little kid, I wanted to be Pete Rose or I wanted to be Nolan Ryan. And so those were like really fun people to meet. I think John Elway was my hero growing up. I've gotten to be buddies with him now, but when I first met him the first time, I think I was a rookie in the NFL, and I went to a Super Bowl event, and he was there, and I was like, what do you say to John Elway? When you meet him, I mean, it's like that's the guy I wanted to be as a kid. Again, a guy that's 15 years older than me and was doing the deal when I was in grade school, and I wanted to be the next Elway. So there's certain guys that stand out. I met Bobby Knight one time in the airport, and of course, I'm a legendary Indiana basketball coach, and he passed away recently, but just one of those guys that was like, Coach Knight, dude, is the guy. It's like, it'd be like a kid meeting Nick Saban now or something. It was the guy that we all looked up to back then. And I ended up getting to play for Nick Saban, which was very, very cool at LSU. And he's been a big part of my life and watching him. But there's certain guys that were much older than me that I remember meeting that were like, wow, Elway, Bobby Knight, those are two of them right there. Got to give Jordan a high five when he was playing with the Bulls one time. That was pretty cool. Coming out of the locker room, I was at a finals game way back against the Magic, I think, and Shaq, and so it was fun to go to see some of those things. But most of the time, I always tried to be, I tried to be a peer to some of the guys that I ended up coming up with, and they were much older than me. Maybe when I got to the big leagues in baseball, I was 20 and they might have been 35, but there were guys like Will Clark that Don Mattingly, guys that I grew up idolizing. And then now I'm on the same field as Cal Ripken. I mean, guys like that. I think I made two plays against Cal Ripken at third base when we played the Orioles in spring training, and he hit two ground balls down the line, and I dove and caught him and threw him out twice in one game. And I'm like, dude, after the game, I was like, dude, I just threw out Cal Ripken twice. That's crazy. Two putouts. I mean, so there's been some fun times too where, I've got some cool stories around them.
Yeah, I recently watched Steve Nash and LeBron have their podcast now, Mind the Game. They just did an interview with Luka, or they just released part one. But even like watching that interview, like I'm always reminded, like Luka grew up watching LeBron, like that's his idol, and now he's getting to play with him. So like kind of like to what you were saying, obviously different, right? Like you're on separate teams, but you throwing out Cal Ripken, I imagine like Luka's kind of feeling maybe a similar way. It's
Big time.
it's like, dude, I started playing basketball because of this guy, and now we're on the same. Not only are we on the same team, but like I'm learning all his secrets, how he trains his body, how he maintains his, his longevity.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what's going on in his head. I mean, he must feel like he just won the lottery. Luka, that is.
Yeah, I love Luka. I think, you said it, you kind of hit the nail on the head, is the way that LeBron prepares for games, the way he's kept his body in shape. I mean, I think that was the big question mark for him in Dallas. He was gaining weight, like him being in LA, being in a city that eats well, probably too, from a nutritional standpoint, better than Texas. Being in Dallas, a lot of fried food, a lot of Southern stuff. You go to LA, and now you got LeBron kind of leading the charge. And hey, you want to have a 20-year career, you want to be one of the greats of all time. This is what you have to do to put in. You get in, you get what you put in. You get out what you put in to your system. So I think those are probably huge dynamics that are great for Luka in terms of how well he'll play the rest of his career out, to be honest with you. And that could have gone the other way. Obviously, Dallas thought it might go the other way, and now he's in LA. He's dropped weight. He's probably putting a lot of money into his body and maintaining, and that's a piece of the puzzle when you want to have a career that's like LeBron's had. I mean, no one really has careers like LeBron, but at least it gives Luka a real chance to play long term and be effective forever, for a long time.
There's that picture of like Luka in his rookie year, and then Luka with the Mavericks last year when he was, obviously overweight, and it was like Luka pre-American processed food and Luka post like American processed food.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, he's already looking a lot skinnier. I saw some pictures recently came out. So I mean, he's already obviously taking notes from LeBron. You did mention meeting LeBron briefly. How did that go down?
Man, I was a backup quarterback for the Browns for 3 years in the early 2000s, and he was a high school superstar, and he didn't have a real amazing home life. He had a guy named Eddie Jackson that was like a father figure to him, and Eddie and a guy named Billy Hampton, who passed away, was a front office guy with the Browns when I was there. Well, me and Billy got really close, and Billy used to take us down to watch LeBron games. LeBron, some of his basketball games in the around the his season when we were done playing the NFL regular season, and we were stuck in Cleveland, trying to figure out what we're going to do in the evenings and stuff. He could go, let's go down and watch LeBron. I got a limo. We're going to go down and watch him. So I'd end up going down to watch LeBron his senior year, probably 6, 7 times. And after games, we would go out with Eddie and him and his mother and hang out. Like I've been to LeBron's house when he was a kid, which is crazy because the stories that not many people have. But I was there when Adidas tried to offer him some money at a lunch to sign with them. I think during his junior year, they came and they offered crazy money. It was like 40 million bucks or something to sign with him. And he was sitting there with me and Billy Hampton and his mom and Eddie Jackson, and Tim Couch was with us, the quarterback for the Browns when I was there as well. And he passed the envelope back to Adidas and goes, "Y'all come back and talk to me next year." And he signed with Nike for 99 million or something, whatever it was. And I'm like, dude, he just made 60 million bucks by pushing that envelope back and then playing well for a year. But I think those are I was there at that lunch. It was unbelievable. And Adidas walked in and they thought they were cool and they were trying to present something, which, Adidas is cool, but LeBron wasn't ready to, I guess to make that decision at that point in his life. But LeBron didn't look around much to ask for help. He knew what he wanted, and I really, really, you can see that of course he's a leader, a super leader. Everybody talks about him. He's really running the organization, but he probably is. The guy, even when he was in Cleveland or Miami, it's his team. It's his position that is so strong inside an organization. But he's been like that since he was a kid, man. He thinks through stuff. He like you talked about earlier, he positions himself well mentally, physically, emotionally. And yeah, maybe he takes some stupid flops every now and then, and he talks a little bit too much about politics, but at the same time, I like how hard he plays, the effort he does give his craft. And God, I mean, when I saw him play young, he was so freaking good. He jumped out of the gym. That's what, I've seen a lot of great players young. Ken Griffey, Alex Rodriguez played with him as a teammate. LeBron when he was a kid. Um, there's just some things about these guys that just jump off the board. It was Alex Rodriguez's speed. It was Griffey's ability to hit and hit young, and LeBron's ability to just absolutely leap out of the gym, dude. And I was like, this guy's on a whole different level than most guys I see. And so it's fun to watch those guys kind of come into their own.
I want to get to your story because speaking of high school, phenomenal high school athletes, we can't gloss over the fact that you yourself were pretty good in high school and obviously later on. But one thing that's always, I mean, it's astounding. I mean, honestly, leaves me speechless every time I think about it. But like the fact that LeBron, if you think about it, like since high school has had a spotlight on him, and growing up, even entering the league, like I'll never forget. I'm unfortunately a Sacramento Kings fan. His first game obviously was against us in Sacramento, and I'll never forget like the press before the game. The chosen one, the magazines coming out. The next heir apparent to Michael Jordan. He's taken over the league. Like, just imagine at the age of 18. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine that. Like having that amount of pressure on you. Like me at the age of 18, I was playing Call of Duty and worried about my kill death ratio. LeBron is carrying this like multi-million-dollar franchise and has thousands of people watching. Like just the pressure alone. Like if take everything else away from him, the records, the accolades, anything you want to, the clean record, right? Has never got into any legal trouble.
Yep.
Strip all that
Amazing.
away, it is so impressive just being able to deal with that amount of pressure for that long period of time.
Yeah, I think him being able to shoulder the load, like you say, it's like being a quarterback for an NFL franchise, or being LeBron, or being Kobe Bryant. Everybody's watching you. I mean, really, that a quarterback on every team has that type of um, role within an organization. It's the ball's in his hands every stinking play. You got to make a good decision every stinking play. If you make a couple bad decisions, they're calling for your head, and it's a very difficult position to play. I think LeBron was in that position as a early superstar, and the biggest and brightest I've ever seen. Even now, even up to now, and it's been 20 years since he came out of high school. We haven't seen anybody demand like that. Tiger Woods was unbelievable, but he's playing in a sport where it's just him. There's not teammates and dynamics and different things of that nature. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Tiger. He's my favorite athlete ever, but LeBron had to come in as an 18-year-old, establish himself in the NBA with a bunch of grown men that can leap, run, jump, be physical, fast, understand, basketball, IQ, all these things, and to be able to go and dominate in his first year or two is just incredible. Kobe did the same thing at an early age, and that's just incredible. Huge testament to the fortitude and the want to be great and to not mess around.
Do you ever think about the price of success? Like even if you look at like your own journey, if you look at the someone like LeBron who we're just talking about, like I think people see the success and people are like, that's so cool. Like that, like I want to be LeBron or I want to be blah, blah, blah. But what they don't realize is all the sacrifice, all of the pain, all of the stuff that happens behind closed doors that doesn't get mentioned on ESPN. That is we as fans may never truly understand what that really looks like,
Yep,
but just the price of success, like just thoughts on that taken from your
love it.
own journey or even looking at like
Yep.
LeBron or any other notable athlete.
I think athletic ability at the highest level. Now, in high school or college, you can get away with, okay, you're an athlete, you can out athlete people. It's a definite, it's like Reggie Bush at SC. He just out athleted college football, right? At Tebow, he out athlete, but they can't do it at the NFL level because there's a lot of really extremely fast, strong, physical dudes would know what they're doing, and coaches are game planning at a high level. There's just a lot to it, right? And it's not to take away from those guys, but uh, you know, the ability is about half of it when you get to the league. It's like the Tom Brady's or the Peyton Mannings or the Drew Breeses, right? Like Drew Brees had a much greater NFL career than I did, but if you were to put us in a parking lot to throw, it'd be like I'm taking Josh every time. It ain't even close. And Peyton and Brady probably too. And I know all those guys. I know Brees real well, and I know Manning since I was a kid. But they're so diligent in understanding the really the ins and outs of football and X's and O's and studying, and they're like they're they're not it's not you don't just come out and are a polished player or polished product. Like it's that effort that goes into walkthroughs, film study, discipline. Like self discipline is so freaking big. Like you can't just there's only been a couple players that, like a Brett Favre, that's like a rebel without a cause, and he turned into a superstar because he was just so freaking good, right? Elway was like that, but Favre turned the ball over. Aaron Rodgers, he comes in behind Favre, he don't turn the ball over, and he throws to the right guy every stinking time. And it's like Aaron Rodgers is probably a better pro than Brett Favre was, and Brett Favre was the gold standard in Green Bay forever. No one thought anybody could ever top. How were they going to top Brett Favre? But the guys that are so smart, Philip Rivers is one of the smartest players I've ever seen. The guy's mechanics are terrible, okay? But he understood where to go with the football. He got it out early. He understood his part, right, but he understood the offensive line's part. He understood the defensive, what they were trying to do at every level. It's just like the retention, understanding, remembering, like there's a lot to it, but there's a lot of mental stuff that the average fan go, oh, why didn't he throw the ball to the fullback in the flat or whatever? Like that, just so stupid. But man, there's a lot going on, dude, and it's hard. And the defensive guys get paid a lot of money to rush you and knock your head off. And so being fearless, as a quarterback, and I'm talking football right now, but it's you know, not scared to fail. There's just a million reasons that make guys great. And I'll always go back to Tom Brady and Tiger Woods, and they just put more in, dude. And I'm telling you, they don't get frustrated. They don't get tired of doing the same old every day. And that's just working their craft and understanding what they got to do to win. And they got help around them, but it's still very, very difficult to do it over and over and over and over.
It's interesting because I've had obviously current and retired athletes on the podcast. Just had Quentin Lake, safety for the Rams, who was fantastic, and he talked about like the importance of self-discipline and like the importance of having a routine, especially like when you're in the middle of a season. But it was interesting to me because like I always hear the word self-discipline, and it's weird because you would think that there's so many people around you who can help keep you disciplined, especially when you're on the NFL team. I mean, just look at, starting with coaches, teammates, family, obviously, friends. Like, there's so many external people that can help you keep disciplined. And yet, it's that self-discipline that always seems to come out on top. And when I look at, like, quarterbacks who didn't make it, right? Like, I think of, like, a Jamarcus Russell, like, comes to mind, right? And like you hear the stories, he wasn't disciplined. He didn't take, the X's and O's seriously, right? And maybe that's like the nice way of saying it, but it's just so fascinating to me. At the end of the day, when you strip everything down, it's still that self-discipline that comes out on top.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's super deep rooted. Now we're getting real serious here, but I like it. It's deep rooted. Like Saban used to say, um, there's a lot of carryover in your regular life to the football field. And it might be going to class on time, actually studying, teaching yourself how to study, even if it's not football, studying whatever in class. Like that, there's a lot of carryover to that, like holding yourself accountable, doing exactly what you're supposed to do, like not getting tired of doing the right thing over and over and over, right? And I think those are some of the deep root. It could be back when you were a kid, and did you listen to your parents? Did they discipline you? There's a lot to that deep rooted stuff, but it's so true. Like not a lot of guys who had no discipline end up getting great discipline unless they just absolutely are determined to be a machine, right? And be disciplined and it usually starts with even like your workouts and your nutrition. Are you cheating the system? Or, anything like that. It's like, I didn't want to go to class when I was at LSU. I'd skip if I could, but Saban didn't want anybody skipping because that was you show your teammates how much you care about football by being at class. And so there's this deep rooted, it's all woven together, which is just crazy to think of it like that. But there's a lot of kids that weren't disciplined, didn't want to listen, didn't want to take instruction, didn't want to take coaching, thought they knew it all, thought they were better athletes than anybody else. And then, dude, they were wiped out quick or they never played because they could not do the deal. They couldn't get through the system.
You mentioned that, you've known Manning for a while. You're friends with Elway. You have a lot of athletes who have performed at the highest level. And it's always interesting for me, like as an interviewer, like I'll ask certain athletes or, I'll be like, hey, what do you think made Manning so great? Or, we were just talking about it a little bit with LeBron. And I feel like people are always looking for this like secret sauce or this like secret, this one, like you always see it too on YouTube. It's like, or on Twitter, it's one of those like clickbaity type hooks where it's like the one trait that, Tom Brady had that nobody else did. But in reality, what I've come to understand and learn is that a lot of times it boils down to the basics. Are you consistent? Are you disciplined? Do you work hard? And there is no crazy secret sauce. I mean, we alluded to a little bit, like some people, LeBron in high school, right? Like just insane athlete, even still
Yeah.
at the age of 40. Like some people are just born with natural gifts. But it's when you start to study the top guys at every sport, Tiger Woods, LeBron, Manning, Brady, Kobe. It's like what do they all have in common? They were consistent, they were disciplined, they worked hard. Maybe there's a couple more traits that I'm missing, but like that's
Yeah.
it. And so like I now sometimes even I don't even try to ask the question of like what do you think made him so special? Because I feel like I already know the answer. Do you? I just from knowing some
Dude,
of these guys, do you feel the same way, or do you have a different take?
yeah, I think fearless is another one I'd add to that state, that statement of, circle of different examples of why guys would do it in one word. But I think, like fearless is not just having balls of steel. It's like you're not afraid to fail. Like you're going up to the plate like Gary Sheffield wanting to take somebody's head off. Like I'm going to own this guy. It's like knowing that you're the best, and Tiger said it in his, I think when he accepted an award speech or the Hall of Fame speech, like he put so much in, he felt like um, he was entitled to win because no one else put what I put in, right? And I remember when another Saban story at LSU, we had a coach in '99. We practiced hard, we trained hard, we didn't train smart, we we didn't learn a lot of football. Saban came in the next year. We did all that, and we learned football, and we had a good staff. And then now we felt like we deserved to win. Dude, when we were on that sideline looking across the way, it's probably like Brady and Belichick and the boys were thinking when they were facing their opponents. Like, dude, there's no one that walked through more plays. We're designed. We're designed to win. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just did everything right. There's no reason that we shouldn't feel like we should win this game. That is huge, right? If you prepare to play well. And so the more you put in, the more you get out. But guys like Gary Sheffield, who was a teammate in Florida with the Marlins, I remember him. He came to the park pissed off, dude. He's ready to go, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he did it every day to himself. Like he got pissed off every day. He's like, that guy's trying to take food off my table. Like, and then I'm there sitting there as a 20-year-old kid. I'm just listening to this. I think it's fun to see how different people motivate themselves and are motivated. But fearless is a great word. Like as a quarterback, you have to be fearless in the pocket, like Mahomes, to step up in there and people are coming at you hard and not worried about getting smacked in the mouth. Or if you're a championship boxer, like Tyson, you think he's scared? No, he's going for it. And that so you have to have that mentality. It's like you can't score unless you shoot too, so that's kind of a fearless in a roundabout way, fearlessness in a lot of different ways, shapes or forms. But I think that's a big part of being a superstar athlete and going beyond.
I have a whole Michael Jordan quote here on fear, but I'll shorten it for the sake of the podcast. In essence, he says, "If you're confident you have done everything possible to prepare yourself, then there's nothing to fear."
Yep. Yep. That's it.
And I think Kobe had said something similar on a podcast. I think somebody was asking about fear and maybe nerves, and he said, "Yeah, if I felt nervous, then I knew I hadn't done everything I could have done to prepare, and
Hmm.
I knew that those nerves that I was feeling was really, lack of preparation boiling up to the top." Um,
That's right. I think thinking I mean, he thought like a champion, right? And that's what created the champion. But it was like doing all the little things right, like Belichick or I keep bringing up Saban, but dude, it was like every little thing they did was to give themselves a better chance percentage wise to win the dang game at the end of the day. And so they made all these good decisions that stacked up against their opponent. And whether it was, having everybody in there for extra time watching film, or maybe it's the extra running or conditioning or whatever it is, the mental, the coaching, like staying on top of every stinking thing. And then at the end of the day, dude, they're going to win more than they lose. I can promise you that, because not many not many full teams are ready to play for the team. There's a lot of selfishness out there too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they caught it perfect. It was like the Red Sox in '04 when they beat the Yankees. Like Millar, he's my best friend and my roommate in baseball, but he gathered the troops and they went out there and freaking beat the Yankees down 3-0. And he goes, dude, this thing ain't over, boys. We won 4 games a lot in a row this year. You know what I'm saying? So what are we worried about? Just freaking let's cowboy up or whatever. And I think that's the mentality you have to be a champion. I've got a Trump book here, Think Like a Champion, on my desk, but that made me think like that guy. There's a lot of people, all whether you like him or not. There's a lot of people always trying to take the dude down, dude, and he's in the most powerful position in the world right now. Like you can't take him down, dude. It ain't gonna happen. This cat's unbelievable. Same thing with Michael Jordan or Tom Brady. How hard is it to take those guys down? The world has to something freaky's got to happen, for Brady to lose a big game, and it did. Tyree caught the ball in the back of his helmet and all that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's weird stuff had to happen. I think I heard a stat my brother told me this week is I think Brady was up in the fourth quarter in all 10 Super Bowls. He won 7, but he was up in all 10. The defense gave up a scoring play against themselves 3 of the times, and they didn't win. But he never was not ahead in the fourth quarter of 10 Super Bowls. And that's amazing. I mean, he did everything right to give himself a chance to win.
Wild. I want to get to obviously your time at LSU, but before we do that, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but just your high school career. I didn't realize I knew you were a dual sport athlete, and I knew I had heard people talking about you in high school. I didn't realize you were this accomplished. I mean, first high school quarterback ever to throw for over 10,000 yards. USA Today named you the Offensive Player of the Year back in 1993. When you were in high school, what was your mindset around sports, around football, around baseball? What were you looking to get out of it?
I mean, I had huge dreams. My dad was a football coach in my high school. Of course, I played baseball as well, so I was a dual sport guy. I played played basketball too until my junior year. But I just think like I grew into a frame that allowed me to be thinking that I could be a pro by my junior year. Like I was like 6'3", 210, right? And I could throw the ball a mile and I could hit the ball a mile or whatever. It was just raw stuff, right? But we paid attention to. We had a passing offense, of course, and we broke national records and state records. State records came my junior year, national records came my senior. And then everybody and their mother was recruiting me. So like Paterno and Bill Walsh and everybody were coming to the house, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I just fed off of it. And then, like I said, I was a huge John Elway guy, and he was firing balls all over the field back then for the Broncos. And I didn't miss a game. I wanted to be like Elway, and I'm like, I can run a little bit too. And I was a shortstop in baseball, so I could move around. I could throw from a bunch of different angles. I'm like, dude, I'm playing with these kids out here in high school because I was a way better athlete than most high school kids. I mean, that's just the truth, right? And so I was like, dude, and then I had a good offense. I had a couple good receivers, and we were going no huddle before and spread before teams were doing that in high school, and we're just killing people that way. We won a state title, and that was fun, and I got to be a big recruit because of it, to be honest with you. Me and Peyton came out the same year of high school, and I beat him out of a lot of the stuff, and it was because, dude, we were dominant, and I was throwing the ball all over the place and having fun doing it, and um, I had a lot of notoriety in football, of course. So baseball, the notoriety came a little easier. Everybody's like, he's a quarterback. He's going to be the next LSU quarterback. All this, and LSU's baseball program was winning national championships at the time in the '90s when I was in high school, and I was going to be the shortstop too. So it was like, dude, I had this huge groundswell around me because I was going to go play quarterback and shortstop at LSU, and I was kind of like I don't know, the biggest prospect LSU'd ever had. So it was fun to be that guy um, at that time. It was pretty cool.
Do you feel looking back now that you think all that notoriety and all the attention got to you a little bit, or do you think that you handled it pretty well?
You know, I was well, I don't want to say upset. I I got drafted early in baseball, and that's part of the answer to this story is that I was the fifth overall pick in the '94 amateur baseball draft in the first round of the Marlins, which was a new franchise. Wayne Huizinga, the owner of the Marlins, who was also the Dolphins owner, and he started Blockbuster Video and Waste Management. We all know the Waste Management uh, brand now because of golf, but he was like, if you're going to come play for me, the Marlins, you're going to have to sign a no football clause in your contract. And so I had to sign a 5-year no football clause to go play baseball. And so I love football and baseball the same. Like I just grew up loving ball. I love basketball as much as the other two, but I knew I wasn't going to be as good at it. So I took it to those two sports, and there's a lot of like shortstops and third basemen and pitchers also play quarterback. That's just kind of the natural, um, the natural thing for a lot of pitchers and quarterbacks or shortstops or third basemen to play quarterback. But so I had all that kind of built in for me. This is a long ways around this, but when I had to give up football, boy, it was tough for me because my dad's a football coach. My brother played receiver at LSU. My other brother played at USC, quarterback for Pete Carroll. Like, we're a football family now. I liked baseball too, but I wanted to give it a shot because I'm like, I got picked in the first round, the fifth pick, the highest. No one's even ever been picked in the top 5 picks in Louisiana high school history. It's still I think I'm the highest pick in Louisiana high school history. There's been LSU players like Skeens went one, but Ben McDonald went one, but no one in high school has ever gone that high in Louisiana. So I was like, dude, I probably can get to the big leagues fast. And there's some longevity there in baseball. There's all these, and I talked myself into doing it. So I signed the deal. I went on to play baseball. And that was probably a very rude awakening once I got to Florida was, man, I'll never play football again. And my brother, is playing high school football. My dad's coaching LSU's on the football field in the fall, and I'm not there, and I should be their quarterback. And Manning went to Tennessee, and he was their quarterback, and he ended up starting halfway through his freshman year. And I was like, dude, I could do that easy. So I was wanting to play both, even when I was just playing baseball. And so that really got to me. And I wanted to go back and play football. I was like, I want to be the first dude to ever play in the NFL and Major League Baseball at the quarterback position. I know Dion and Bo did it, and running back and defensive back, but no one's ever done it. So I was trying to do some stuff that's just almost impossible, right? And I look back on it now. My dad's the best. He's awesome, but he was always like, dude, you could do it. Just dream big. Let's go do it. You know what I'm saying? He was on my side, and I loved it. But being a quarterback and playing baseball in the major leagues it's just way hard, right? Because you got to be there. You're not going to win a starting job quarterbacking in the NFL if you're not there. So it was very tough for me to lay down football for 4 years, and I finally was able to go back and play college football because Huizinga sold the team to John Henry. So those, I was going to be in AAA or the big leagues. I don't know where I would have been if I'd have come back to the Marlins in '99 and '98. I was starting an opening day third baseman in '97. I was on the World Series team. I got called up. I got lucky. Bobby Bo got hurt, and I got a few games under my belt. But dude, I struggled hitting, and I played great defense, and I could hit for power. I could crush balls, but I needed to learn how to hit like a big leaguer. And I was coming out of high school, so the first few years were tough, and I was wanting to play football the whole time. So I was very conflicted.
So you got drafted right out of high school then into okay.
Major leagues, to the Major League Baseball draft.
Right.
I had to go through the minor league systems, right? So I went A ball, double A, triple A. Um, I did all that. I went A ball, double A, big leagues, triple A, big leagues, triple A. I did that. I bounced back and forth, and I'm young. I mean, I was doing that all at 20 years old, 19, 20, 21 years old. And, that's very difficult too. I mean, I was called up to the big leagues when I was 19. I mean, that don't happen very often. Now it happens a little bit more than it did back when I was playing because the kids just play more games now in the summers and use wood bat leagues and all this. We didn't have all that. I played like 25 games my senior year of baseball, and I didn't never played real summer baseball until my junior year. I was always playing football and getting ready for football. We just, it was like it wasn't like it is now where you play 100 games, when you're in the summer and you're a kid. And we didn't have that set up back then. So I was just trying to out athlete the baseball, or out athlete football when I went to that sport. I was just doing whatever I could, whatever I thought I could do, I tried to pull off. But it was hard not playing football for 4 years because I really missed it.
Do you ever think about like if you had gone to LSU and played quarterback right out of high school, how your football career may have ended up differently?
Um, yeah, I do. I mean, LSU football back in the 90s wasn't good, like it is now. They weren't a perennial top 10 team. Saban came in 2000 and shifted Louisiana football forever, hopefully in a good way. He did. So I think like if I would have wanted to go back and play football, I'd have probably gone somewhere else, like Florida with Spurrier, Stoops at Oklahoma, Bowden at Florida State, like Bill Walsh at Stanford. I would have gone and played where baseball would have mattered and football would have just mattered. But I wanted to go play baseball at LSU for Skip Bertman. He was a legendary baseball coach. They had just come off winning two national championships, 91, 93, which were my high school years. And I wanted to play shortstop for Skip, and play football. So I was like, that's the perfect place for me to do both. It's in my home state. They got the best baseball program in the country, and their football it ain't too good, but maybe I could be the hero, and help them, And so it ended up being a tough situation to sit out football for 4 years. But if I had to go back and it was just football, it's still funny. I don't know what I would do. Probably go somewhere else, to be honest.
As we transition from your MLB years back to going to LSU to play quarterback, how do you look back on your years with the Marlins? I mean, you signed, I think it was then a record $1.6 million bonus. I'm assuming the money had to have felt nice,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
like I guess if you could maybe just speak a little bit just on the money side of things, just for a young kid like that, and we hear about it especially nowadays all the time with young kids getting all this money, especially with the NIL now. Um, just how did it change you? How did it not change you? And then just in general, how you look back on your years with the Marlins.
Sure. I love being drafted by the Marlins because there was a new franchise. Florida, of course, is a great city or state. I mean, in terms of the Florida Marlins, now it's Miami Marlins, a good market to be in terms of like living arrangements, and you're in South Florida, and I'm single. Those kind of things were good. It wasn't like I was in a bad town. I knew that I was going to have to go play in the minor leagues, which was not something I really wanted to do, but I knew I had to do it to get to the big leagues. I wanted to fast track that like crazy. They wanted me to fast track that like crazy. I was getting instruction from a lot of different people. So I was getting all this big league instruction and minor league instruction. And it's like I was trying to figure out, how quick I'd get to the big leagues. That's all I was thinking about. And it was very, very difficult because I wasn't a patient. I'm still not a real patient guy, but I wasn't a patient guy back then. And I was a free swinger, like Sammy Sosa or Rob Deere or Pete Incaviglia back in the day. Like I wanted to hit bombs. I didn't come to the park to walk. Pretty much that's the way I thought. And I'm like, that's not the way to think though as a baseball player. Like, you know, walk's not a bad option if they're not throwing strikes. You know what I'm saying? And so I was a free swinger, and I got myself behind in counts a lot. And early on in my career, especially in A ball, man, I got behind in counts because they weren't going to throw me a fastball because I can hit it a mile. They were going to throw a breaking ball and then see what I did. If I swung and missed it, fouled it off. Now they got me 0-1. Now they can go break the ball again. Like it's little things like that can change your percentages of getting a hit in a bat, right? So it's like I wasn't smart enough to know, okay, they're going to throw a bunch of off speed stuff. I'm just going to spit on it until I get two strikes. I'm going to pick out a fastball. I'm going to smoke that thing. Like, I think now I probably would be a lot better. But early on, man, I'm just trying to hit 40 homers and get to the big leagues and be a fast track like Griffey. And, and A-Rod, and those were my guys. And so, and I felt like I was that talented. I mean, I was on the USA team with Alex. We were roommates, and we hit 3-4, and we were the dudes, right? It's like, so I knew I could do it. It was just me being patient, me being a baseball player, me learning like how to be a hitter. And Millar taught me a lot in Double A. They put me up to Double A real quick, and I was up there in Double A in Portland, Maine, and I was learning how to be a hitter. And I would just listen to like what the older guys had to say in the dugout, or when I got called up, it was like I'm gonna go sit next to Gary Sheffield, and he was a buddy. You know what I'm saying? He was an athlete. I was an athlete. He took me under his wing. I mean, I go to his house all the time, still down here in Florida, but he would teach me what he knew, right? But I still had to take it from what his knowledge to my head to the plate, right? And that was very difficult because I wanted to be Gary Sheffield the next day, and it's like, no, you can't be Gary Sheffield. You gotta understand how to hit or how to be a hitter, be patient at the plate. And that was a very tough, like 3 years probably for me in the minors, is just because I was a free swinger. I didn't want to take walks. I thought I could out athlete the baseball, and I probably would have needed another year or two under my belt to really figure out baseball. But I didn't. I also wanted to play football, so I never really gave it the full chance. I always, in the off season, I always wanted to go back and watch football and be around my family and do all that. And so I wasn't sold out to it. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, is like, you better sell out to your craft, man. There's a lot of good players out there, right? And and to be the best, especially, you can cheat it a little bit, but I felt like I cheated baseball a little bit in terms of not giving it my all, not selling out, but it was because I had football. It wasn't because I just wanted to cheat baseball. I love baseball, but I freaking really love football. you know?
So now you're back at LSU and you're playing football. Did you feel when you went back and you became the starting quarterback, did you feel like you had made it in a sense, or did you feel like you were back at home? Like, did you feel like you were making the right decision, or was it still murky?
Oh man, I was fired up to have the opportunity to try to make it. I didn't think I would made it. My goal was to get to the NFL. I I was excited. I was getting my chance. Like, there's something I really wanted. We made it happen. Baseball was a afterthought when I got to LSU. I'm like, you know what? I've got to remove that from my life. I'm gonna go back and play football and see what at least this one year is going to do for me. And we sucked. We went 4-7. The coach got fired, and that's when we're all looking around the room, going, "Dude, this sport ain't easy either, right?" And here comes Saban, and here comes discipline, and here comes detail oriented guy, and here comes work hard, work smart, and we were able to turn it around that second year. And he talked me into staying. He goes, "Don't go back and play baseball. You're going to be my quarterback." And I won the job in camp, and I mean, won the job and got to play most of the games. And we had 5 guys in the QB room that were drafted in the NFL when I was there at quarterback. So I mean, it wasn't like it was just me and a bunch of dudes. Like, we had some dudes that could play that had been there a couple years before me. Had really Rohan Davey, who backed up Brady, was my backup. Craig Nall, who backed up Favre in Green Bay. Like, we had some dudes there, rightly so. Any big SEC team, you're going to have, most of the time you got good quarterbacks in the quarterback room or great receivers in the receiver room. Like, I had to go out and earn it, man. And it was tough, but I was able to start most of the games the 2 years I was there. And but Saban really came in the second year and helped us. We were dog, what, the first year, and so the fans were like, "What is going to go on here?" And then Saban kicked that thing off in a good way the next year.
But you talked about detail oriented, work hard, just some of the stuff you've learned from Saban. But if, let's say, an alien dropped down on Earth and they had no idea who Nick Saban was, and you had to describe to them who Nick Saban is, the fact that he's a coach, what's his coaching style like, just how would you interact with the alien, and how would you describe Nick Saban to them?
Well, if they didn't know anything, it'd be very hard. But he's military esque back then. He's hard nosed. He doesn't accept losing. He doesn't accept half effort. If you're sprinting, you better if you running 40 40s after practice, the first 10 need to be the fastest 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, wear yourself out. He don't want you to hold anything back at any time. And then there's a lot of classroom stuff that you've got to be solid. Not the school classroom. He demands that too, but like the study and football film, like, you got to put in a lot of work to understand what you should be doing on the field. So if an alien came in and goes, who is this guy? I would say, dude, he is a dude. He's a tough customer. He's going to be someone that is demanding, and you better get your mind right, because every day when you get up to the facility, the workouts are going to be hard. The training's going to be tough. Yes, the practices are going to be tough, but then the games will be easy because you prepared the right way. That's what I would say to anybody or a recruit coming in that we were trying to get is, dude, you're going to work your ass off, but buddy, you're going to be better for it. So
I've heard from from other NFL players like the balance between a laid back coach and like more of a laid back culture, a little more personal freedom versus like, you brought the Patriots before, but like Bill Belichick, like it's his way, discipline, Nick Saban, very similar. We're here to do I don't want to say do a job, but like in essence, it's like very serious. It's very
yep.
disciplined. Just like, do you think that there is a balance there? Like, did you ever feel like you weren't having fun because Saban was so demanding and it was so, detail oriented?
There was not any fun unless you won. I mean, there was never fun. My brother played for Pete Carroll, and I brought it up earlier, but Pete Carroll is a fun to play for coach. Like, there's just some guys. Like, I was with Holmgren in Seattle. Holmgren's a sourpuss, and like, I like him. He's a great coach. Like, he's a legendary coach, an offensive mind. But he ain't having a lot of laughs and giggles, and there's not no jacking around, or you're not going to enjoy practice. Like, it is what it is. Saban, same thing. You're going to get cursed at. You're going to get kicked. You're going to get bruised and battered or whatever. He's going to hurt your ego. I mean, he's going to come hard, buddy, and you better be resilient. But that's like life, right? Pete Carroll won in a different fashion. He's like patting you on the butt, giving you high fives, smiling, energy, positive, everything. We're gonna do this. No one can beat us. And dude, that works too. Like, I've seen it. I've seen both. I've seen both with my own two eyes, and it's like, those are great references. It's Belichick and Saban, and then you got Pete Carroll over here. And there's others that are like Pete, but Pete, he stuck out to me. And Matt Hasselbeck's a good friend of mine. He was my roommate in Seattle. He goes, dude, I've never had so much fun playing a football season in my life as I did playing for Pete Carroll. And I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. And my brother, they just loved him, man, at SC, and I mean, those teams were awesome, and they just steamrolled teams, but it was because they were all having a blast, and they just wanted to play hard for him. So there's different ways of coaching and different ways of motivating. It's just, I had Saban and my brother had Pete Carroll,
Well,
which
it's
is a
funny
lot
too.
easier.
Well, it's funny too how you and your brother had essentially polar opposites in
Yep.
terms of just like coaching styles. So I'm sure there's a lot of like funny stories like, hey, yesterday, Saban yelled at me and told me I was garbage. Meanwhile, your brother's like, yeah, Pete was throwing the ball with the receivers, and
That's why my brother was smart. He didn't go play for Saban. He went and played for Pete.
yeah,
He saw that. He knew how hard it was. But he's the ultimate winner too. It's like Kirby Smart. He's not messing around. We're not. This ain't joke time. This is
right.
go time, and it is on, buddy. You have to have a personality like that. Like, Saban has that personality. Belichick has that. They don't have to joke around. They don't care about being funny. They don't care about being liked. Like, not that Pete Carroll care about being liked, but he's an energetic, positive dude. Like, he's the guy I'd want to work for if I was in a corporate, situation. A Pete Carroll, someone's going to get the room fired up, baby. Let's do that. But Saban would do it because he'd put the fear of God in you. You ain't going to play. You're not going to do this. You're not going to be worth a flying shit if you can't do this right. And so, I mean, there was a lot of days where it was just getting dog cussed every other play in practice. But man, was it motivating in a different way.
I feel like it also kind of speaks to the importance of staying true to yourself. Because like if Pete Carroll tried being like Nick Saban, I guarantee you it never would have worked out, or at least he would not have won as much as
No,
he did. Same with Saban, right? Like if like or imagine like I bring up Bill Belichick because I know him. I've seen more of
yeah,
him. Like imagine like Bill trying to be like funny during an interview or like
it ain't gonna
charismatic.
work. It
You'd be
ain't
like, "What are
gonna
you
work.
doing?"
You
like
got to stay yourself for sure. We'd have thought that was weird if he'd have come out one day and tried to be funny. He wasn't ever funny. It was all business every day. That's why I say military. Like, yeah, it's not the military, but man, it's as close as you can get without being in the military. I can guarantee you that. He was there to whip everybody's butt into shape, and he knew it. And it was, he was a super success, man. At Alabama, it was just so much fun watching his teams because I knew how well prepared. I bet them every Saturday I could. I'm like, these guys don't have a chance going up against this guy. There's just no way. I mean, he's going to win 9 out of every 10 ball games, and he's going to smoke you if he's up. If you're down and you don't know how to deal with adversity, he's going to pound you. And I'm telling you, it was so much fun watching his Bama teams, and I'm an LSU Tiger, but yet I respected him so much. I'm like, golly. I was an Alabama fan. If we weren't playing them, I was an Alabama fan because dude, Saban taught me a lot personally, but I'm like, he's teaching a lot of those kids how to win in life, dude, and it's fun to watch him orchestrate it all.
you get to the NFL, you were drafted in the 6th round by the Seattle Seahawks. What did that feel like?
I mean, it was cool to get drafted. I wanted to get drafted earlier. Of course, I'd been through getting drafted early. Now I'd gotten drafted late, in the 6th round, so it's a completely different animal. I thought I was going to be a third rounder. Jerry Jones had called me the night before the draft, the Cowboys, and said, "I'm going to draft you in the 3rd round if you're there." It didn't happen. I'm like, now I still hate the Cowboys for it. Not really, but anyways, I, I was bummed that it was late. um, I was hoping it was going to be closer to home, but dude, you're just elated to get drafted at that point. It was like Shador this year. He didn't think he was going to go to Cleveland in the 5th round. He thought he was going to be a top 20 pick. I mean, it's crazy how the NFL draft works. And so I fell to the 6th round. I went to Seattle. Hasselback was my roommate there. When I first got there, and we had a blast. Like we're still great buddies. So there's great relationships that came out of it. But um, Hasselback had just signed a deal with Seattle to be the starter, and Holmgren didn't know if he wanted him to start early, so he brought in Trent Dilfer on top of me, and Trent won the job out of camp for the first 4 or 5 weeks. So Hasselback had to kind of sit, and it was a weird situation between those two for a few weeks. They're buddies and great friends now, but I was in the middle of all that. So they put me on practice squad the last week of camp, and then that's when I had 3 teams claim me, and it was Dallas, Jacksonville, and Cleveland. And I had to go to the team with the worst record the year before, which is the Cleveland Browns. And so I go to Cleveland, but Butch Davis, I had known he was the head coach in Cleveland at the time. I had known them from the University of Miami when I was playing with the Marlins, and they recruited me. The Miami Hurricanes had recruited me really heavy coming out of high school. So I knew all the Hurricane guys, and they were all Hurricane guys that got the job in Cleveland. So it was almost like I was walking into some guys I knew much better than Holmgren and his staff up in Seattle. So it felt like home. But yeah, you asked about Seattle. I love Seattle in the summer. I'd never really played, never really was there for a season, but I was there early, and it was fun to get to know some of those guys.
And then you're in Cleveland for what, 2 years?
Yeah, like 2.5 years. Was there 2.5 years, and we made the playoffs my second year. We got beat by Pittsburgh in the wild card game, but I was a backup, man. I was a 6th rounder. It was like Brady if Bledsoe never got hurt. I was sitting there trying to figure out how am I going to get on the dang field. I got to get out here to prove myself, or it's going to be hard to get that second contract, or that first real contract. You get the rookie deal, but then to get to that first real contract, you got to play some, and it's got to be your 4th season. And it was just so hard to get to. The Browns were bad that the 3rd year. Butch got fired. They brought in Romeo Cornell, but all the quarterbacks in the room got released. I got released in the middle of the year because we were injured and they needed some linemen. But you know how it is. It's political, man. Unless you're a top pick or getting paid, it's going to be hard to get on the field. And no matter how well you're doing in practice, and so it was a very difficult situation in my life. Was like, dude, what am I going to do now? Am I going to get picked up or anything? And I started, I tried to keep in good shape, but it's like, what do? You're a backup quarterback now. You're trying to stay in the league. Now you've been out of baseball 3 or 4 years. It's going to be tough to go back to baseball. So it's like, dude, I got caught in no man's land for a little bit.
And so I, did you feel any type of regret, like especially after you got released by the Browns? Like, was there ever regret that you wish you had done things differently, or you were just
Oh
content
yeah.
and
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody would say, dude, if you would have just played football or whatever, you'd be a Hall of Famer or something. But dude, yeah, that's my skill set, yes, but it's still everything has to happen. Like you got to stay healthy. You got to be with the right team. You're only as good as the people around you. Like Cleveland quarterbacks go there to die. Like maybe they'll pick it up here. And I hope they do. But it's a tough place to win, and that's why no one's. Baker won a playoff game. There's unbelievable, but it just never happened for 30 years or 25 years since Bernie Kosar. Like it's hard, right? So it's like your situations that have a lot to do with dictate a lot. Like Tim Couch was a great player. He was the first pick overall. He made 60 million bucks and signed a big deal with Cleveland, but he was out of the league in 3 years. And it's because it's Cleveland. He got banged up. He hurt his shoulder. It's like David Carr. In Houston, he took 70 sacks in the rookie year. Dude, it's hard to come back from that. Like if you don't have the guys around you in a run game and balance and all this, or you're not elite, then it's going to be difficult for anybody. So it's like timing is a lot to do with a lot of it. Um, you know, my brother was a great player. He backed up Favre in Minnesota, then he went to a couple other teams, and he could have played, but he was a fifth round pick. It's hard. It's just hard to keep in the league, especially after the third year, because they can go get someone on a rookie contract for a lot less, and you're going to sign a big deal. So those guys that have made it being backups for 15 years, that they're doing something right. God's smiling on them because that doesn't happen very often. And anyways, it's just kind of the nature of pro sports. You're just hard to hang on.
I'm curious about your perspective on why you think it's so hard to win in Cleveland. And part of the reason why I ask is because I had Deshaun Kaiser on the podcast,
Yeah,
obviously
I know,
drafted
Deshaun.
by the Browns. And he candidly told me, he was like, listen, if I get drafted by any other team, I may have had a completely different NFL career. Just talking
Hmm.
to some of the ineptitude and just the way that the Browns were run, especially during his time there. I, it's just always why do you think it's so hard to win there? Like what is it deep down that keeps that organization from winning?
I still do Cleveland radio. I'm doing some this week, Browns radio. So it's hard to just completely, say negative things about it. But I think free agents don't want to sign there. That's not where they want their families. You're later on in your career when you're a free agent. You're 26, you're 30, you're 34. It's that second contract, third contract. Your family, they don't want to go move to Cleveland. Um, I don't want to bring the kids, and the wife doesn't want to go to Cleveland. If there's another opportunity to go to San Diego or to LA or play for the Rams or the Chargers or any other place, like I'm in compared to Cleveland, right? It's just a tough place to want to move to as a free agent. So it's like they've got to draft well. They've got to figure out how they're going to keep those guys that have been in the organization there. It ain't going to be a lot of free agents coming in. You know what I'm saying? So and they haven't had an elite quarterback in a long time to make free agents want to go play with them. It's like Burrow came into Cincinnati and they had enough offense, not enough. They had a lot of offense his rookie year, and now everybody wants. Oh, shoot! It'd be fun to go play with Burrow, and then now you hear swirling of receivers wanting to go play with Burrow, or if Gronkowski comes back, he wants to go play with Burrow. Like that's good hype, right? There's never been that situation happen in Cleveland where it's like, I want to go play with that guy because he's going to take that team to the Super Bowl. And that's how free agents think. They're like, how can I win a Super Bowl, right? How can I get paid and how can I win a Super Bowl? And it's like, if Cleveland ain't paying top dollar, they did Deshaun. They're trying to find that piece, right, with Deshaun Watson. But if they don't have that piece, it's hard to get the other pieces. And I think that's where they've struggled, is having all those quarterbacks, 20 something guys over the last 30 years or 28, whatever quarterbacks it is. And they can't find the one like a John Elway to take them to the promised land, or that elite guy early in his career so you can build on him. They didn't even believe in Baker. Baker's one top 10 guy right now. Like, it's because the veterans on that team are not elite veterans. They have some young talent. They got good players. They might have some great offensive line. They might have a run game. But, dude, as a whole, they just don't get those big-time veterans to stay around there.
I kind of view it, I mean, obviously very different, but in a similar way to like Sacramento. I mean, like the Kings have struggled to attract free agents for years, but it's like, why would you go to Sacramento where you're going to California? You have to pay a lot of taxes.
Doesn't
Also,
make
by the
sense.
way, there's nothing to do in Sacramento. Like if you're going to LA and paying all those taxes, at least you're in LA,
Yeah.
at least you have,
You'll
the
make it up
beach.
doing some marketing stuff, too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. It's
so,
hard. It's just hard
yeah.
on those franchises, and you might see them pop up. Like, how awesome is it that we got the Pacers and the Thunder? Everybody was down on it. I'm like, dude, this is epic for basketball because we get two small market teams playing at a super high level, with a bunch of
Right.
young stars, like, young studs. Like, it's just so much fun. But yeah, it's so hard for them to actually get there. That's why it's so rewarding for that franchise to build within, build up. The NBA is a little different though, because you got to have 10 good players, 8 good players. In
Right.
NFL, you better have 44. I mean, the dynamic is completely different. Even in baseball, you got to have more players. Like, very seldom do you see small market teams have great runs. I mean, Tampa did it, the Devil Rays did it, the Royals have gotten close a few times. I mean, it's fun to watch those teams, but it's always going to be the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox most of the time.
Such is the life of being a fan of a small market team, but we take it in stride and we try and make the best out of it.
That's right. You got to.
Yeah, Josh, we've taken up too much of your time already, so I'll end it on this question. It's actually one I just thought of, which we'll see how it goes. If your life was a movie and there was one
Oh,
major
God.
theme from this movie that you wanted people to take away from it, let's say you were the director of your own movie. What is like a theme, a lesson, something that you want people to remember after they've watched your movie?
um, I've always taken pride in, like, being a all around athlete. Like, my friends always laugh because I'm always like, dude, I'm an athlete. I tell them that. It's like, I was sitting we were at a Super Bowl party one time in New Orleans, and it was like me, Hasselback, Joey Harrington. I don't know if you remember who that is, but Joey Harrington, Drew Bledsoe, Millar was there with us. I forget. There was like 10 of us standing around, and they were all quarterbacks for the most part, except for me and Millar were we're baseball guys too. But they're all like, "Who's the best? Who's the best athlete here?" And I'm like, "Dude, I played 2 sports. I'm the best athlete here by far. It's not even close, guys." And so I've taken pride in that. But it's like, if I would have probably done one, yeah, I'd have probably had a 12-year career somewhere, no doubt. But I was trying to do something that no one else could ever do. So I think just to go for it. The mentality I've always had was kind of like Brett Favre, just go for it. I never back down. I'm close to a scratch golfer now. That's what I do for fun. Me and my brother were playing basketball yesterday, 1-on-1 full court. Like, I just love to compete. So I think, as a whole, like in Louisiana, everybody knows me as, probably one of the best athletes to ever come out of the state. But I'm not a Hall of Famer, and I never will be because I'm 50 now and I can't go back. But I'm a competitive son of a gun, and I love people and I love sports, and I, that's what I want people to realize, is how good of a well-rounded athlete I was. And I hang out with Dion and some of the guys, and they know that. They're like Sheffield, dude. He pumps me up every time I see him. He's like, dude, you're the best athlete I've ever been around. And that makes me feel good. But it didn't show it didn't show in the Hall of Fame statue. It just has to show some other ways, that I've been able to live life. But that's what I'm proud of.
I have to ask you this question too, because I just thought of it, and LeBron, Luka, and Steve Nash were talking about it on their podcast, and I was just reminded of how youth sports have changed. And this might be a little different topic here, but I think it kind of ties in. How youth sports nowadays are too serious, and everything is a competition. And being a competitive guy, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this. How kids from a young age are, being pitted against each other, and it's like this all or nothing. And LeBron and Luka are talking about how, like, growing up for them, it was like, we played sports for fun. Like, we just went out, we played basketball with the kids, and like, it was fun, and we didn't have these like huge expectations. And obviously they evolved into what they were, but like, LeBron even mentions it. He was like, yeah, we would go out, play kickball, basketball, football, run track and field, like do all these different things. And like, we were just having a good time with it. Do you think that youth sports have become too serious, and that just the joy of playing has been taken away from kids, and we're going in this different direction? And just what are your thoughts on all that?
I think we've created a world where it's all about making money for these guys who have started these leagues. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Kudos to him. Like, perfect game. I know the CEO, president, awesome guy. Like, he's got a monster thing going, right? But it's set up for um, a lot of travel, a lot of games, a lot of families spending a lot of money, right? And it's awesome. Like, I would have wanted to play 80 games in the summer too. I want to play every time I woke up out of the bed. I'd want to go outside and organize a game, like what they were saying, kickball, and that's what we did. We did everything, but also wanted to win those games. So I like the competitive spirit of and nature of all that, because I think that's great for kids. It's not, I don't want to come in second place if I'm running a 40-yard dash against somebody. I want to win. I mean, but I think the joy of it, the parents are what take the parents and maybe some of the craziness in terms of all the games and schedule, but the parents are the ones that take the joy away from it for the kids. My parents never did. They didn't force us to do anything. I was begging my dad to take me to hit BP and take me here, take me there, and they never were like, we're going to play, we're going to play, we're going to play another game, another weekend. Like, so it's, I don't know. I think kids personalities are different for every kid too. Like, I've got twin boys. One's at Clemson playing football. He's a receiver for Dabo right now, and man, he is relaxed. He relaxes. He sleeps a lot, and then when he gets on the field, he just crushes. And I'm like, I wasn't like that. Like, I can't sleep. I want to get up. I want to play a doubleheader every day. Like, I have to be moving. I'm fidgety. You can probably tell in this podcast, but I think the kids are, you want to teach the kids to want to win. Like, that's what you want to do in life. LeBron's one of the biggest winners ever. Yeah, he had fun when he was a kid, probably because he was scoring 30 a game. Let him
Right.
score three. Let him score three a game and see how much fun it was. They
Yeah.
wouldn't pick him on his team. They wouldn't. He was picked first, I promise you, every time. And he was scoring 30. He was dominating, and it's all he thought about, and that's what's carried over. So yeah, they were having fun, but it was fun because they were so dang good. So
Yeah.
we need to ask some guys that aren't Hall of Famers, see what they say.
Well, I think the competitive aspect of it, because I grew up playing basketball. Like, I played AAU, did all that stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm not a Hall of Famer, but I will say that, like, just going through all that taught me the importance of competing. To what you were just saying,
Yep.
and it was important to know that there was a winner and a loser. That
Big
at
time.
the end of the day, somebody was better than you, or you were better than somebody else, and not in a malicious way, not like in a mean spirited, just like at the end of the day, somebody wins, someone loses. And like, I just think
I
those
love it.
lessons carry over in the rest of your life. Just like with podcasting, at the end of the day, there are bigger podcasts than mine. There are smaller podcasts than mine. I
Yep.
can either take that as an incentive to work harder and try to grow and become a better interviewer, right? Or I can sit here and pout and be like, why am I not bigger, right? And it kind of ties into the whole victim mentality, and that's a whole separate podcast. But
Yeah.
just like understanding, and that's one thing. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I think it's so important. Like my dad always taught me, it's like whether you win or you lose, you first look at yourself. Like how did I perform? What could I have done better? Like what did I do everything in my power to perform at my best ability? We
Yep.
talked about it with Michael Jordan, right? Like if I prepared well, then I was not scared of failure. Or Kobe, right? Like if I'm nervous, it means I didn't prepare well enough. So like, did I do like for this interview? Did I do everything in my power to try and make this a good interview? Did I research
Yep.
Josh? Did I try ask good questions? Right? Did I do all these different things? And if I did, then I should feel at peace knowing that I did the best that I possibly could have done.
And that's all
And
you can ask for. That's
that's
all
all
you can ask of yourself, right? I mean, it's like
right.
do your job is what Belichick used to say, but I promise you there was a lot that led up to that so you could do your job well. But you got to do your job, right? And it's like whatever you tackle, it's biblical for me because I grew up a Christian. It's like whatever you do, do with all your might. That's what my dad used to say. He just give it everything you got. Like what your dad said, give it everything you got, dude. You can hang your hat on that. Like sometimes they're going to throw the perfect pitch. Sometimes, the ball's going to bounce the other way. Like it just does. It's
Yep.
sports. It's life. It's fun. Like LeBron didn't win a championship every year. No one does. But the ball's going to bounce more good than bad, more than not in your favor if you put more into it, and you'll get more out of it and all that. And I think that's kind of what the whole podcast boils down to is, yeah, I love that. I love kids competing. Uh, I love that. I don't like everybody gets a prize. I like there's winners and losers. And we used to say it in the South. It's like if you tie ball games like kissing your sister. You don't want to do that. So, so I would rather lose and go extra innings and lose than tie. There is no tie. We'd play in the middle of the dark. There ain't no tie. I love it.
We gotta get a separate podcast with just sayings from the South. I don't know what kind of turn we take, but I'm in for it.
I love it. I love it.
Josh, can't thank you enough for your time today, man. This was awesome. Getting to know you a little bit better, hearing your story. Covered a whole bunch of topics just in sports and life. I know this will be valuable for people, so I can't thank you enough. But before we leave, where can people find you and more of your work?
Yeah, at Josh Booty 10 on all socials. My business website is bigdreamventure.com. So I have kind of a venture minded I guess website where it's the businesses that I've gotten to be a part of through my network and through sports and through raising money and capital and putting deals together. So if anybody wanted to check that out, they could, bigdreamventure.com, but at Josh Booty 12 on all socials. And I try to stay updated as much as I can on my socials. I play around on a lot. I know that you're on there and yeah, I'm constantly traveling and playing golf now and doing deals. So it's fun.
Love it. Love it. All those links will be in the description. Josh, don't enjoy the South Florida sun too much, man.
Thank you, man. Hey, it's about to get real hot down here. In Orlando, it gets hot, man. So I'll be traveling some, but going to Birmingham this week to play in a member guest with my boy Coulter Bean, who used to pitch for the Yankees at a place called Old Overton. So I got to get my swing right. I'm ready to go. I got to be ready to go. But no, I enjoyed it, man. Thanks for having me.
No, the pleasure's all mine. Thanks again, Josh, and hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yes, sir. We will. Thanks, man. Have a good day.
Right, peace.
Rest of your day.